Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Fixate and Binge podcast. I'm very glad you're here. If you were able to join us last week, it was a reunion. It was really nice having the former co-creator and my former co-host, Jared Clavin, on the podcast for last week's episode. It was a great opportunity to catch up for some of our listeners, especially our core listeners who've been with us since the beginning. If you need a quick history refresher, Jared and I began this podcast in June of 2022. So we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary. And every week for about 2 years, Jared and I would host this show, and we would put it out every Tuesday. And we logged in over 100 episodes together. And then life happens, and Jared had to step down and focus a little bit on his family and focus a little bit on his career that went through some changes. We talk about that in that episode if you want to listen to it. But it was just last week's episode, so if you haven't listened to it, please feel free to jump in and take a trip down memory lane with the two of us if you have been familiar with his work earlier with me. I am very excited for this episode. I do not want to spend too much time talking about other things because I want the focus to be on on my guests. But I would be remiss if I didn't take maybe 1 or 2 minutes to just explain about some things that I've been watching lately that I think you need to check out. The first thing that comes to mind is a film I saw this past Thursday, the 16th, Thursday, April 16th. My daughter and I went to go see Lee Cronen's The Mummy. Now, Lee Cronen, you might be wondering, as I think most people are, who the heck is Lee Cronen? Well, Lee Cronen is the one that made Evil Dead Rise, which was actually very good. And coincidentally, my daughter and I went to the movies to go see that one. If you know, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she likes horror as much as I do. So she's my horror film buddy. So we really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise. So we went to go see Lee Cronen's The Mummy, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was absolutely terrifying. It was gory. It was gross. I'll say this, it terrifies and entertains. And there are a lot of unexpected things that happen. And even though the film is not immune from some criticism, it is a little long, and it does at parts veer in a little bit into the Evil Dead lane a little bit. It makes you wonder if his Evil Dead Rise and The Mummy are in the same universe, because there is some similarity there. But nonetheless, I was freaked out several times, grossed out several times. And so as a big screen experience, if you like horror, you are going to have a lot of the boxes ticked if you go see Lee Cronen's The Mummy. It is very good. Now, if you want to check out my full review, it's mostly spoiler-free. It's on my Letterboxd. Just look up Fixate and Binge. You'll find my 4 out of 5 star review there. The other thing I want to say before we jump into my main topic today is I have been holding off for the last couple months. I've talked about it multiple times in multiple episodes. I have been holding off to watch season 2 of The Pit until all of the episodes have dropped and I can binge it over a very quick weekend. And that is exactly what I'm midway doing. Yesterday, Saturday, because I'm recording this on a Sunday, I watched 7 episodes of season 2. And the reason why I've done this is because I want to have, as close as I can, a similar experience of being exhausted and worn out mentally watching a show with characters who are working in high stressful situations hour after hour after hour after hour. I just feel like that's the best way to enjoy this particular TV show. That's what I did for season 1, and it's what I'm trying to do for season 2. So I've got a lot of episodes to plow through after this podcast recording is done, because I need to try and get through it before tonight, Sunday night. So I've got quite a lot of viewing to do. But anyway, without further ado, I need to introduce to you this week's topic. You've clicked on this link, you're listening, you probably already know what I'm going to be discussing. I have been given an extraordinary opportunity to speak with 2 incredibly talented creatives. They're two directors. They're documentarians. Their skills are in cinematography, but their real talents, I think, are in storytelling and the truth that they can unflinchingly show us. And I was able to screen a film that both of these documentarians worked on. The film is called Just Sing, and it kind of capitalizes a little bit on the picture perfect TV's Glee phenomenon of singing a cappella or singing in ensembles. And I didn't know this because I didn't watch the picture perfect movies. I know, I know, I should have. I should have, at least in prep for this topic. But there is a competitive a cappella collegiate, I don't know what you would call it, like not a system, but you would a competitive circuit. That's the word I'm looking. Not system, but circuit. There's a competitive circuit, and it's international as well. And so, what this documentary is called is Just Sing, and it charts the University of Southern California, the a cappella group, which has been going strong and undefeated for years, and the group is called the SoCal Vocals. And they have won 5 years in a row. And this documentary, Just Sing, is kind of embedded with the group and discovering their process and their cohesion as a group and how they come together. And anyway, I don't want to get into all the particulars of that because that is discussed ad nauseum in the podcast, of course. And I definitely want you to hear from the creators of this. And the creators are Angelique Molina, an LA-based documentarian in her own right, and a very talented, her co-director, very talented, Abraham Troen. We call him Abie, who is incredibly talented and very insightful. And I just really enjoyed my conversation with these two. And without further ado, this is the second time I've said without further ado, and then of course I go on for 10 minutes. Without further ado, this is my interview with Angelique Molina and Abie Troen discussing their film, Just Sing, which will be available in select cinemas around the nation for its premiere on April 24th, 2026. Here it is. Excited.
I mean, it's nice to see you know, if it makes you feel better, I can do this as
Right,
well.
we could all just be.
No, up
Yeah.
close and personal. I love it. Well, you can see that I've exfoliated, my pores are clear. So,
I have not, but
no, okay, good stuff. Listen, I have nothing but praise for your documentary film that the two of you did together, Just Sing. I have loved it. I immediately wrote my review. I'm waiting for the embargo to lift, and I can't wait to post it. I'm just going to dive right in. The two of you have made something really joyful and important in, I guess, shining a light on the collegiate a cappella competitive phenomenon. I wasn't even aware it was there. I kind of missed the Glee picture perfect. I missed a lot of that. My wife is into Glee, but I kind of missed all that. And I wanted to know what was the idea behind this that came to fruition and ended up in this film that you guys made together.
I mean, I think it's two things. The inciting incident is that our wonderful producer Sarah Thompson was involved with the Pitch Perfect films and always dreamt about doing a Pitch Perfect documentary, the real life Pitch Perfect. And so she contacted the ICCA, which is the competition that Pitch Perfect is based off of. 12,000 students every year enter that competition, hoping to be crowned champions. And then connected us with the SoCal Vocals, the undefeated champion of that competition. When we met them, and this is the second part to your question,
Yeah.
we realized that these were a wonderful team, so talented, and above all, really interesting and wonderful human beings. And so we came and said, why don't we do a coming of age story following these folks in their final year of college and as they make their way through a singing competition and see what happens. And next thing you know, then that was our journey being with them. And it's one of the things that Angelique and I are most grateful for having that opportunity to do that.
Wow, that's succinctly said. I appreciate that. I have to. I noticed that you guys debuted this documentary at the Tribeca Film Festival, and I think that's an incredible thing. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. Was there anything about that experience that meant something to the two of you? I mean, how does that feel to debut your film at the Tribeca Film Festival?
I think we were more than excited, obviously, and a bit nervous, but we premiered at a sold out 900 seat theater with all of the SoCal vocals, their family and friends, strangers, and to experience that in a theater and that communal experience and to hear reactions from the crowd and laughter and crying and was it touched our hearts, honestly. And
Yeah.
Abie and I sat next to each other, looking at each other in moments and being like, oh my gosh, like this is happening, we finally did it. um and so I think that that's part of the reason why we're so excited to have the film come out in theaters, starting up April 24th 23rd for the pre-screening, because that communal experience, that we got to experience at Tribeca, we just want the world to feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out on Shakespeare's birthday. Speaking of somebody that really understands audience, the energy that an audience can experience when they're presented with something so fantastic and so joyful. I keep saying joyful because that is the overarching theme I get from this documentary. It's the thing that comes, the message that comes through louder than almost anything else is just how joyful it was. The two of you, I did a little bit of research on the two of you. I don't know if, I mean, the internet sometimes doesn't tell the
Uh-oh,
truth.
no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's all good. Now, the two of you attended the University of Southern California. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
that is
Okay,
how we met.
that's how you met. Okay. It's a little bit like Ryan Coogler and his Goran
Yeah.
meeting at Oakland. That's wild. When you were students there, were you aware of the SoCal vocals or the a cappella phenomenon on campus? Was there any awareness of that while you were students there?
Uh, I think while we were there, no, I honestly couldn't care less.
Okay.
But
Just
I
hyper
do
focused on your major, right?
hyper focused, hyper focused, in my little School of Cinematic Arts bubble. But I do
Yeah.
have a connection to the SoCal vocals, and AB has heard this story a million times. But I my sister had a friend in high school, and he went to college, and he was a part of the SoCal Vocals. And many
Wow.
moons ago, I got to go to a house party at the SoCal Vocal House, and that was my introduction to them. And so to kind of circle back after I had graduated and be a part of this wonderful, wonderful community, was such a joy. And I guess joy is the word, because it was like, wow, this is like the irony of like coming back to this. Like this was my first kind of USC experience in high school, going to this random house party at the SoCal Vocal House, and then, and then now I'm making an entire film with my friend that I met at USC. Was yeah, it was part of the joy of getting to be introduced to this a cappella world that honestly, I know that people look at it and they're like, oh, this is, it can be cheesy. It can be that, people have their assumptions about what it is. But to go to work every single day and hear amazing vocals and amazing music and people trying their hardest and having these great skills to be able to sing and collaborate with each other was like a privilege and a joy.
Wow. Wow. How about you, Abe? Is it Abraham or Abe? I'm not sure which you go by. I know it's Angelique or
Yeah.
I I go by I'm Joseph, but you can call me Joe. But I wasn't sure if I could get away with an
Well,
Abe or
my God-given name, my God, my parents called me Abraham,
okay.
and there was a question if I should be credited as Abraham or AB because in previous films it's AB.
AB. Okay.
Um, but the producers were like, "Well, Abraham is a good name," and I went with that.
Solid name.
But you can call me AB. All my friends know me as AB.
There you go. Yeah, we both have Old Testament names. I mean, there's some history behind those names.
There definitely is, and
Yeah.
hopefully a future.
Yes, me
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
This experience, I'm sorry for the two of you. So this experience, so it sounds like a full circle moment to go back to the University of Southern California. And Angelique, you were saying that you were actually in the SoCal Vocal house, which
yeah.
is that the same house that's in the film where they practice?
Same
Yeah.
house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That
Same
is
old
wild.
house. That house is old as dirt, but it's a amazing, huge. Well, it's not that old, but
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah, I was
around
gonna say,
there.
I mean, we were just talking about Old Testament, but like
I mean, for
it's
LA,
it,
it's old. Like, LA is not
yeah,
a very old city, so
Sure. Sure.
so
Sure.
like it's one of the older houses in LA,
Yeah.
and it's this frat vibe, where
Yeah.
they all get together and they're singing and the kitchen is an interesting vibe. Would you cook in it? Maybe not.
A little bit like Animal House. I was expecting to
yeah.
see a toga party at some point.
I
There
was gonna
probably
say
was.
the question is less would you cook in it, but would someone clean up after they cook?
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone goes fleeing when it's time to clean, I'm sure.
I
Yeah,
think that's why there were so many like DoorDash orders and
yeah.
I'll
It's
bet.
also a generational difference, but yeah.
Yeah, got it. So you're a producer, Sarah Thompson.
Thompson.
Excuse me. Yeah, your producer, Sarah Thompson. She gave you the idea that this would be a good a topic to make a documentary about. When you guys fell into this world, what surprised you the most about the a cappella, the whole scene, the whole subculture on college campuses? I mean, were you surprised by it? What was your first impressions?
I mean, I think people sing for all sorts of reasons, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it can be like a form of self-expression. You don't need to win a competition to sing, you know? But if you choose to do the pop major at USC and you choose to go and try to make it as a singer in a really competitive industry, there's both like a professional side to it and a personal aspect to it at the same time. I think what we really discovered is that above those two is also a sense of belonging and community. Even in the prep talks for like the interviews that Angelique and I are doing, we've been spoken to about the loneliness epidemic, you
Yeah.
know, and I think there was lots of things we witnessed in the SoCal Vocal House, but loneliness was not one of them. And I think that one of the things that we discovered is that really this a cappella world means so much to people because it's a place where you need to harmonize with 15 other people
Yeah.
and you ultimately find a little bit about your own voice and about what it's like to belong to a wonderful group of people like that.
Yeah, I definitely got that messaging as well. I was moved by several of the stories, the personal stories that you guys focused on, particularly Dylan and Sam's experiences. I mean, completely different experiences, but you can see how important it was for them to find a community, a place of belonging, and a place that they could feel safe to express themselves. And it almost brought tears to my eyes. I'm gonna be honest with you because there's something about artistic expression. It can come out of painful trauma. It can come out of horrible experiences. And it's when the soul can express itself, and I'm sorry for getting philosophical here, but
No,
when it can
please.
express itself, and when I saw Sam's story and I saw about his dad, and my heart just kind of broke for him. And here he is supporting his son and especially Dylan's parents growing up in that kind of closed-minded Midwestern town and finding their son in an environment where he has found his community and he's accepted and what he's expressing is such joy and it's so beautiful. And I don't really have like a final comment on that. It's just that your film captured that. It was one of the most effective things I've seen. Is it got it so good? It got it so well. So I were there moments like that as you guys are filming where you were surprised by what you were finding? Because I
Oh,
yeah. What was that like to see that come out of your documentary?
I think it's in the subtleties. I think that this is not a documentary about, you know, I think the fear in making this film was that it's just an a cappella competition
Yeah.
and that these are just 20-year-olds what can they share? What can they tell? What ultimate challenges? This is not following people in a war zone. This is following people who order DoorDash and don't really clean up the a cappella house. How interesting could it be? Do they have actual problems that are worthy of a documentary when the world is on fire? I ask that question every day making this film.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is yes, because it's in the subtleties of people trying to figure out their relationships with their parents. It's
Yeah.
people trying to really take those hesitant risks of finding their own voice. It's people, struggling with real things, which can ultimately be resolved by a hug,
Mhm.
or a way there is through a hug. And that's worthy. So I think this is an observational documentary. Angelique and I love the observational process, and it was observing those things that ultimately try to create a story.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to know, as you were sitting down with the members of SoCal Vocals, did any of these performers open up immediately, or did some of that trust take time?
I mean, I think a little bit of both, depending on the person, but like I think trust takes time with anybody.
Right.
AB and I, from the beginning, we definitely were off to the races, but even while we were filming, we were like, okay, we still have to meet up with these people. We met up with 16 of them individually over coffee or in burritos and matchas to get to know who they were. And AB and I have said this before that like this could be a mini series. We could
Yeah.
tell each individual story because they have so much to say and offer. But obviously, we like AP has said before, we have to complement what each person is saying and tell the story as one cohesive story. And so yeah, I think that it's a process to get people to be vulnerable, and you have to be trusted. And we I think we built that trust with every one of them to be able to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know, AB, if you wanted to share anything as well, or from that experience of trying to gain the trust of your subjects.
I mean, I think that they
Can I
I
add
think that
something?
they saw
Yeah.
Angelique and myself and the way that we collaborated with each other. And there's something about a team watching a team, and that kind of makes it, you
Mhm.
know, like we reflected back that sort of energy. I
Yeah.
think also that I have never felt so old in my life, in the ripe old age of my mid 30s, than being around 20-year-old college students. Um, and I think that, if I had to approach it all by myself, or if Angelique had to approach it all by herself, that would have been actually incredibly daunting. But I think it just became like we called ourselves the Vo crew. They're the vocals, we were the Vo crew, and that created a sort of environment where we operated. And honestly, also
Yeah.
we really liked them. I really think that they're,
Right.
Yeah.
and liking, so, I've been involved in documentaries where it's not that I did not like the people we were filming, but there was like, we could be in different political sides of things. We could, all sorts of
Right.
things like that. Here, we were on their team. So we were rooting for them. So it's a different kind of relationship. And we still are rooting for them even after the film is done. And we just hope that people get to, hear their voices, and we really wish them only the best.
Wow. Angelique, you were gonna throw in
Oh, I
something.
think he said it
Yeah.
just right. I mean, time is also like a factor in building trust too. Like when you're
Yeah.
on set with people, like even when you're on a set, like for 3 months on a TV show, like these people become, your people. Like you spend more time with them than you do with your parents or your siblings or your friends, honestly. And time helps, but I think like AB said, when you're a team, it it's a reflection as well. And we saw them be a team, and we were a team, and together we made a film about them.
That's good. One of the things that I really also enjoyed about this, and is there was a real, while you guys, your documentary focused on specific individuals, and all of them were fascinating to me. They were all interesting. I was dialed in, and yes, I think you could actually make a short TV series out of this and follow the specific lives and the choices, and just go through a particular week or a semester of what it's like being a full-time student at the University of Southern California, but also being a full-time, SoCal vocal. I think that'd be interesting. But one of the things I really liked is that when they came together and it was time to sing, there was unity. There was no, at least if there was, I didn't see it. I didn't see kind of self-centeredness. I saw a group of people, everyone in respecting each other's talents, and everyone willing to back up, literally, back up and support maybe some of the solo work that another artist had been selected to sing. There was that kind of camaraderie. It seems a little bit rare in this self-centered culture we have of me first, me front and center, me downstage in the light, everyone else off into the wings, as it were. And I thought that was one of the greatest things that I was witnessing, was a real team unity effort, that when they came together to sing, they were truly one.
I mean, I think it's really also a matter of human nature, you know. I mean, I think it's human nature is just like any relationship, just like any marriage, just like in any family. It's like there are moments when you need the togetherness and moments to be your own thing. They're not going to be singing a cappella for the rest of their lives. This is a moment in time. It's a time capsule. It's them growing up and actually benefiting from being part of this thing. And that is a gift, and that is something I think that they will take for the rest of their lives. You know, the person who wants to be a soloist may discover in the real world that it's actually very hard to make a living being a singer and getting rejected all by yourself. But when you approach a competition as a team, then the rejection as well as the victory, you're there with other people. And there's actually something really special about that. So, you know, that's I think is part of the equation here for them as well.
Yeah, I know Janina's dad, one of the characters or participants in the film, mentions how he was initially disappointed that she was leaning towards singing because he wanted her to learn the values of being a team player on a team sport. And he recognized later that, like, oh no, she's getting those values. She's getting that by being a part of a team, which is whether she's on stage with performing with folks or with the a cappella team. They're still getting those team values essentially. And they there's many of them that major in something called pop music major,
Okay.
and they have to support each other. Like, you see their performances for school, and quite often they're all performing background for each other. And so when it's their
Yeah.
turn to be in the front, they're supporting each other by doing the background vocals. They're used to rotating who's in the front and who's doing the supporting vocals. And they know as musical artists that all of those roles are important. So I think they're able to leave the ego aside because they want the end art to be enjoyable.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's interesting. And speaking of Janina, if I'm not mistaken, Janina was the one that was on The Voice. Or some sort of singing competition, and she was being almost. I mean, she almost was being taken away into the pop singer culture, and was getting looks, and then saw kind of the dark side of what these PR people and what the industry wants from her, and then made a very, what I think is a very brave choice to step away because of the pressures and some of the things they were wanting from her for her public image and things. And I don't know if you guys could speak to that. That was talked about in your film. I wanted to know what your experience was hearing about that from Janina, and how she, I guess, transitioned into an a cappella group as an ensemble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that oh, sorry, AB, were you going to say something?
Oh, you go for it.
So I think that also ties in the parents, because when you have support to show you that no, this isn't right, and I'm going to teach you that you should have self-worth and self-value outside of what the world is asking of you, she had her parents to support her, and I think that's like
Yeah.
a through line with the people that are highlighted in this film. Their parents were supporting them in a way that helped them during this phase of growing up. So I do think that having a support system was crucial.
Yeah.
And then learning like, okay, now my support, I'm leaving the nest, and now my support system is my a cappella team or my professors or, you know, the world around me.
Yeah.
But having that foundation, I think, is a game changer, because many of folks would have been like, let's just do it. You're going to be a pop star. You're going to be amazing. And sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah. I wanted to ask the two of you. Now, I understand the two of you have extensive, your background seems to be as cinematographers. If I've read that correctly, your primary qualifications are in cinematography, being behind the camera, and is that correct? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, no, yeah, oh, go ahead,
Okay.
Abie. You keep unmuting and I keep
Well,
cutting you off. I'm sorry.
I had produced and shot several films in the past.
Yes.
Also, that's also how we got to this particular project. And Angelique had her narrative directorial debut, a feature debut as well. But I think for
Wow.
both of us, there was a love of cinema, like observational cinematography, and sort of entering, through that lens of really observing people.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's really good. I thought I'd ask from a cinematographer's point of view, which I hope the both of you can speak to, was there a particular portion of Just Sing that was challenging to film or edit or to put together in this?
I think that we went, like, when you're filming 16 people and you're trying to get to know them and also highlight them at the same time, you have to, pun intended, harmonize as a
Right.
team. And Abie and I, initially started off with one camera, and we would like go back and forth. And then we got a second camera, and we're just, trying to be in sync with each other. And so I wouldn't say like it was like, oh my God, it's the hardest thing in the world to do, but it was a challenge to that we accepted, and I think that we did well with each other because
Yeah.
we had worked together before. And, just the same looks that they would give each other when they were singing, of like, getting the right notes, and we would kind of give each other those same looks of like, okay, he's got that over there, let me go over here. Like, and we had to, like the vocals, work together. So yeah, sure, challenging, but also, not that hard, because we did this together before, and yeah, just make it
Yeah.
work.
That's awesome. I always ask, is there something that you wanted somebody to ask you and nobody has thought to ask you this?
Mm.
Is there anything that you're like, I sure wish I'd get this question and nobody thinks to ask it? And if nothing comes to mind, that's fine. I'll just move on and ask a few more questions if that's
no, I
okay.
think that's a really good
That's a
question.
really good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I
I'm
think
like,
I no, but I will say this. It's interesting. It has been interesting doing these Q&As, because I realize there's always going to be a difference between the lived experience
Hmm.
and what you film, and then between what you film and what you edit, and then between what you edit and the film, and then between the film and like the final film and the reception, and like it's all these weird millions of steps that happen from that actual moment that you're present for something. And I think we did the film justice. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that like I think what I'm most going to be most curious about at the end of all this is how people feel the moment they leave the movie theater, and if they feel that joy that you mentioned. And
Yeah.
if they do, then I think mission accomplished. I think if people call their parents and say, I love you, or call their kid and say, you wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. I thought it was a terrible idea, but you should do it. Like that's that leap of faith, that courage, that love, I think is what we're ultimately going for. And so if the film gets a wide audience to watch it and they feel that, then we will have done a little bit of good in a really shitty time.
Amen. Hallelujah on that. Honestly, thank you very much for that.
thank
I
you.
I watched this film with my wife and my 17-year-old daughter, and each of us loved it. We just loved it. I remember looking at my daughter saying, "Would you want to ever do this if you go to college?" because she's all in honors classes and she's all driven and she wants to be a big academic and work in medicine. I said, would you do it? And as she was watching it, she was saying, I would never be able to be a full-time student and then fundraise and then do this completely outside of my studies. That's an enormous sacrifice, an enormous commitment. And I'm glad she made that observation because she's already thinking about her future work-life balance when she's a full-time student. And I'm looking at it going, that is crazy. How many of these 16 individuals, each of them full-time students, made time and then self-fundraised for this? It's not like the university says, here's a stipend, go for it, like they do at a theater arts department. This is all self-funded, and they're just doing it for the love of singing a cappella. Did that surprise you?
I mean, one of our characters, Tiffany, had three jobs, was a
Wow.
full-time student, and would go to practice from like 9 to midnight for that. And a lot of them, because they're in performing arts, like one of them, Claudia wasn't highlighted as one of the main participants, but she was also like MIA sometimes. We're like, where's Claudia? Where's Claudia? Oh, she's practicing for her musical that she's in. And then she comes back and then she practices for this. And then she's also a full-time student. Like, so they were definitely as busy as they looked. 7 a.m. to midnight, if not longer. And I think that's part of the commitment to wanting to sing, like Abie said, not just by yourself, but together as a group. And if you're singing together as a group, there's a harmony that has to take place there.
Yeah. Yeah, I really loved hearing some of the musical numbers. I'm like, I'm hearing Adele, I'm hearing Lady Gaga. I'm toe tapping. I'm like kind of strumming my fingers going, this is really good. And the arrangements and the way that they would tweak these songs. I'm not a music guy, mostly because I can't carry a tune. It's out of spite. Same reason I'm not a golf guy or a tennis guy. I can't play those things. And so I say I don't like them. But the truth is that I'm secretly insecure. I wish I could. So, and that when it comes to like musicals and things, I admire anyone that can do it. I really do. My world comes from theater and acting and things like that. But I was not a song and dance guy. But I had colleagues that were in these departments that would do both. They could do drama and they were a triple threat. They could sing, they could dance. And I was always so impressed with that. And I think that's the thing I love the most is that when you have a genuine love for something and a passion for it, and you meet other people that have that shared passion, something wonderful can happen. And I think that's exactly what came through after watching Just Sing was, from Mateo running that little group and leading them into New York City for this national showdown to see if they could win. And I don't have a question on here, guys. I'm just overflowing with praise because I haven't seen a documentary like this that took somebody that doesn't really have a love or appreciation for the music scene like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out going, I love it. I would absolutely go to an a cappella competition if there was one nearby that I could get to. I would go.
Oh, there
Is
is one nearby. I'm sure there is. We'll get you the map.
Please, I live here in California. I live over here in the Central Valley by Modesto,
Okay.
and if there is one, I would like to go.
I'll give you the map, my friend. I think the
Okay.
competition's finishing up right now, but next year we'll,
Wow.
we'll get you
Okay.
there.
I would love it.
Um, I was gonna say something that had to do with what you just said
I'm
about.
s-
No, please, it's
I
okay, my
I
friend.
ramble. I ramble,
No, no,
and
no. It
that's
was good. We
No,
appreciate it.
no. And this is why you have a podcast.
right. I was going to
Yes.
say this works for a podcast. Yeah, I ramble. It's what I do. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I think I remember a little bit what I was gonna say. It had to do with like the idea of getting eyeballs on the film
Yeah.
where, people, not everybody is, thinking that they're a fan of a cappella or Glee or musicals but then experiencing this film, I feel like you see the human aspect of folks and what they're
Yeah.
going through outside of that and just showing the passion. Like if you're a sports fan, if you're a fan of, just whatever passion you have, I think you can appreciate this film
Yeah.
because you see the passion that these folks have and what they're doing to get there to while they're growing up. And I think we all have experienced that or will experience that. So yeah, I think go see Just Sing on April
Please.
24th.
And it does come out on the 24th. There is an event, there is something that happens in the film, and I'm hesitant to mention what it is because I want anyone listening to this to see it. So I don't want to give it away, but there were some surprises in the film. I think you might know which one I'm referring to. What was it like managing your expectations and working with the cast and capturing their reaction to some of those changes?
I think it was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the competition, no spoilers. I
Right.
would say, I would say, all I will say is it's very hard to be a documentary filmmaker, director, duo, and cinematographers, and a human being at the
Human
same
being.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that we finished that whole filming period, and then we ended up booking a spa day in advance so that we could
We did.
like
We did.
just
Together.
Decompress.
yeah, that's that's what they, it took. I think again, there's always a difference between the moment and then capturing the moment and then reliving that moment for hours and hours and hours in an editing room, and
Hmm.
then being in with an audience watching it.
Yeah.
It's a very weird profession, documentary filmmaking, but it's hopefully worth it by other people experiencing those surprises because real
Yeah.
life is full of unexpected things. So,
Yeah.
better watch someone else experiencing loss on or victory or whatever it is on screen, so that you can learn maybe a little bit more about the human experience that way. That's our
Right.
hope.
Oh, that's excellent. I appreciate that. But I wanted to ask. Now you've got to screen this for the SoCal Vocals when it had its premiere, if I'm not mistaken. And then
Yes.
after the premiere, they did a special musical number at the end. They got to perform.
Yes.
Is that what
Yes.
happened? I have to ask, how did the SoCal Vocals respond to your documentary when they finally got to see the finished cut? Are there any memorable responses from any of those a cappella students that were in the SoCal Vocals that you can think of?
I think it surprises any documentary subject to see yourself on screen. I think so much is filmed, but then it turns into a 90-minute thing.
Yeah.
How strange is that? If I filmed you for a year and
A
turned it into
year.
90 minutes, how much gets omitted in doing that? It's a weird thing, right?
Right.
I think they enjoyed hearing their voices. And I think that, I don't want to speak for them, but I think that they saw the care and love that we had for them, and I think they got to see the care and love and joy that they had for each other on screen, how much they
Yeah.
supported each other as team members. So that extended also into the screening. And I would say that the film also has parents in it.
Yeah.
And I was at Tribeca more looking at the parents to see how
Yeah.
they would feel watching themselves with their children on screen. And I think my sense or my hope was that they felt seen. And because that I think is also at the crux of it, that relationship of parents and children.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Angelique, were there any observations you had on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, this is a little lighter, but like back to joy.
Yeah.
So before Tribeca, which was beyond an amazing experience to see and feel all the reactions, we had a tiny, tiny little private screening for the SoCal Vocals leading
Oh,
up to it. And to hear them reacting literally out loud and kind of making fun of each other and doing what they did before
yeah.
was that was memorable to me because I felt like I was more nervous at that screening than Tribeca because I had already at Tribeca I had already seen how they reacted. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, whew, I was more worried about the parents, like AB said. Um, the the reaction to them seeing it together was like chef's kiss. I was so
Wow.
nervous, but then I was like, oh my God, they're talking to the screen, they're laughing, they're crying, they're like, one I remember like there's Claudia, she's not highlighted as much, but she
Yeah,
is close friends with Dylan, who is highlighted in the film. And I remember her
right.
sitting in front of me and turning to Dylan and like holding his shoulder when his part came on. And I was
Mm,
just like, oh, like their friendship, just like, yeah, it was beautiful to watch.
wow, that is pretty awesome. That's really cool. I suspected that they would have appreciated it, mostly because you guys were so respectful. Of course, you would have been, but you were so respectful, and there was a real reverence for the craft, and that is something that came through very loud and very clear. And I think it's the hidden secret. It's not so much hidden, but I think it's the secret to the success and the result of your film. And we keep circling back to that word joy. But it's true. I think your film Just Sing is required viewing for anyone that wants to see a film about a group of people from all different walks of life, many of them on the margins of what society says is acceptable, and they come and they find a safe space, and they can create and work as one in artistry, in singing. And I think that's your film captured this beautifully, and I loved that about it. And I'm always platforming and soapboxing a little bit, but your film, it really evoked a lot of good feelings from me, and it made me a fan. I now want to know if there was any way that there would be not well, for licensing reasons. I would imagine you can't actually release a soundtrack to the film.
We do have a soundtrack actually.
We
What?
Um,
do.
Oh, wow.
of the three songs that they performed. It'll also be dropping on the 24th. Thank you for mentioning that.
Holy cow. Okay. Well, that's
So you'll get to
serendipitous.
experience the three songs that they filmed
Oh,
that they
that's
performed.
okay. Okay. So you heard it here. Three songs will drop also on the day that the film premieres in cinemas around the nation. You're going to want to grab those songs. You're absolutely going to, those are road trip songs. Those are songs to listen to in the gym. Yeah, they're the arrangements, and I think it's, yeah, I don't know the names of the songs or the artists necessarily, but I can't wait because I'm definitely getting them on my iPad or iPod or my iPhone, one of those i things.
Yay.
Last thing for the two of you, what are you working on next? Is there something that you're working on that maybe you can talk about, or something that I might have to keep that under wraps, and later down the line I can talk about it? But is there anything you want to share that you're working on next?
I mean, I have a couple of personal projects that I'm working on that I'm trying to get off the ground at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, the documentary name of the game.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And how about yourself, AB?
Um, I am, yes, I'm currently doing a personal documentary. I won't get into it too much, but
Sure.
in the middle of making this film, my sister and brother-in-law were actually murdered, and so I've been working with
Oh,
different film foundations and support Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers. I've been doing a project following that,
wow.
but that is deep in the works, and as I
Okay.
said, hopefully bringing joy to a world in a dark time is one way of doing some good. And
Yep.
Justin is also at the very end, there's a dedication to them. So in that sense, I hope to bring a little good to the world in a dark time.
That's beautiful. I'm sorry very much for your loss. That's awful. There's not much that can be said on that, but I think it sounds like what you're doing is going to be an excellent way to honor them, and like you said, put out some good into a dark world. We need so much more of that. Um, I recently watched the film Project Hail Mary, and in my review, I just said it felt like 1 2.5 hour hug for my soul.
Hmm.
We need that. So thank you so much, AB and Angelique, for coming on my podcast to talk about your incredible film, Just Sing. It will premiere, it will be out on the 24th of this month. It is a wonderful documentary. You will leave with a smile on your face, lots of joy, even some tears of joy. I really love this film. I'm not That there's no hyperbole in this at all. I'm not making that up. My wife and I, we enjoyed with my daughter the screening that I was able to see here at home, and I actually think I'm going to seek out a big screen and take in the big screen surround sound experience because the songs are so good. And I can't wait for those 3 songs that feature in the documentary to be available to download and purchase. You're going to want to buy them as well. So from me here at the Fixate and Binge podcast, Abie and Angelique, thank you so much for your time this morning. Yeah, you guys are so talented.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. And that is the end of my interview with Angelique and Abie. They were just so insightful and so energetic. And I gush a little bit. I overflow with praise with some of these creatives that come on this podcast because I am in awe of the work that they put together. I am in awe of any creative that takes an idea and lets it germinate and seep into their consciousness. And then it has to be brought out. It has to be given birth. It has to come to fruition. And I really just enjoy that. Any type of artistic expression and creation that is absolutely my jam. I want to be able to have a front row seat to learn how it happens and all the challenges that you face. So if you've been enjoying this podcast, you're going to continue to have fun because I'm going to have more and more creatives on this podcast to discuss their incredible work. So to Angelique and Abie, thank you so much. I can't wait to hear what the 2 of them are going to put out next so I can have them back on if they'll have me. I enjoyed their visit, and I hope you have enjoyed their visit as well. One final word, a little bit about mental health. I always like to close on something that's about mental health. And if you haven't already noticed by now, a common thread throughout the documentary Just Sing is about your mental well-being and being in a safe space. When it comes to who you are and how you're doing, don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't deny somebody the blessing of helping you. Sometimes we get prideful and we can't get out of our own way. No, I don't want the handout. No, I don't want to accept your help. I want you to think about it a little bit differently. You might be denying the person offering the help the blessing of giving. So there's that too. So just be open to accept help when genuine help from a good place is offered. And I think that's good for you. And I know I'm being vague, but I want you to think back. Don't be afraid to accept help when help is offered, because again, you could be denying the person offering the help the real blessing of giving. And if you've ever helped somebody out, somebody's got a flat tire and you helped them change a flat on the road, or you helped an old lady across the street, or I'm not trying to be silly or glib, but I helped get a cat out of a tree. That warm feeling you get, that's good for your mental health. That's good for your soul and well-being. And I want you to think that some people in crisis, some people who need help themselves, the best way they can get the help is the feeling they get from helping others. I want you to think about that too, how true that is. I know so many people whose lives are on a razor edge, and instead of thinking what they can do for themselves, they lose themselves in service of others. And that's what they need. That's their soul medicine, if that makes sense. So anyway, enough with my philosophical musings. I had a great podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next week. And yes, I'm going to have a banger next week. And I hope you will enjoy that too. You have a great one. Continue watching great shows. Spend time with your family. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.